I'm Jane Applegath. This is the Epic Vision Zone where bold ideas meet extraordinary leaders. What if the real reason your business strategy isn't working isn't effort, but execution? And what if growth could accelerate without sacrificing your life or your team's sanity? Simon Severino is the visionary creator and author of the Strategy Sprints Method 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business. The book serves as a guide for business leaders to accelerate growth, increase revenue, and improve efficiency through 12 actionable prints. After 17 years as a strategy advisor, Simon felt something was missing. When he launched his own business, that gap became clear. Companies didn't need better strategies, they needed a better way to execute them. Looking back on his career, Simon distilled what works into a powerful framework built on three strategies, three habits, and three numbers, and 274 pre built modules. The result, a system that helps teams align on a single page, execute faster than competitors, and scale revenue without burning out. Today, Simon reveals how disciplined checkpoints protect leaders from shiny object syndrome and why most thought leadership fails to drive action due to an unclear path forward that they can execute. Simon believes it is coaching, not micromanaging, that unlocks true team performance. If you're leading a B2B business and ready to get smarter, faster growth, this episode may be exactly what you're looking for. Welcome, Simon. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And wow, you guys did a ton of research. I'm impressed.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We always like to give our best and certainly know who we're interviewing because that helps our audience as well and really ignites an excitement on this end. So, give us an idea, Simon. What inspired you to do the work that you do today?
I majored in philosophy, and when I came out of that, I had no job. So I had a problem. I had to invent my way forward, which is probably what most people in their 20s will experience this year, because there isn't a clear path. You have to be very creative, maybe invent your own job. So I had to invent my own job. But I was lucky because the big strategy houses, they were hiring for people independently of the content of their major. They just wanted to have the best grades. And so I had summa cum laude, so I was lucky to get into one of these global strategy consultancies. And it was an El Dorado of learning. You could learn everything in there. And that's what I did. And so I didn't stop until today. I did fall in love with the topic of business coaching, business strategy, how to enter a market, win in a market, stay in the market. And I stayed in love with this until today. It's now, I don't know how many years later. I'm 45 years, so it's 24 years later. And I'm still in love with this thing. A lot of what I did didn't work, though. Didn't work. So it was exciting. I had this Fortune 500 CEOs, and I was part of their team to solve the biggest problems. So I had big problems on my desk. I loved that. The energy in the room when you have this big problem to solve, you get all the resources that you need, you get all the people that you need, but get it done, get it done. So you don't sleep much and you don't want to sleep much because you want to solve that thing. I liked that energy, but many things were broken. And so when I went on my own and started strategy sprints, I was like, how can we make this in a way that serves life and business, not just business? Because we had a terrible life, just working all the time. And so my mission became, okay, I'm here to serve business owners But the job is, can we make this more human? Can we make this with more flow, more integrated in how we live?
Mm, right. Yes, that is the key. Oh my gosh. And what a background and how perfectly it fit because the schooling gave you insight into the mind and how we work. And then your corporate job gave you the insight into what's broken inside. And you're right, today, the culture is that people are seeking more of a life, not just a work life. Because in our day, and I'm older than you, but definitely that was the tradition. You were brought up, went to school, told you had to get a job and work for the rest of, and then there's other responsibilities. You get the house, you get the children, you get the marriage, and then things just, and you get on the hamster wheel. But I love that. So I am really, really anxious now and interested to get into the strategy sprint method that you created. So give us some insight into that and why it is unique compared to other methods out there.
One of the things that was broken was all this flying around.
Mhm.
I was flying around, they were flying around, everybody was flying around all the time. And I said, okay, let's fix that first. How about we ground ourselves? We just don't
Mhm.
fly. And so we shifted to digital. This was a little bit pre-pandemic. And so it
Mhm.
was a little bit ahead of time, but then the pandemic helped a lot and everybody went digital in the pandemic. So then it became normal. But I I I was a father now. I have 3 kids. And so my first son was born 10 years ago. And when Federico was born, my values shifted, my priorities shifted. And I said, I'm going to ground myself and I will find a way because I want to be here as a dad, not just a weekend dad. And I will find a way to make this part of the flow of my day, right? So I want to be here, play with them in the morning, help them be ready for school. Then maybe when they come back, I cook for them. And then in the evening, we will have dinner together and ask, how was your day? And maybe, watch some movies and have some fun. And so in between, I want to serve entrepreneurs. And I think it's possible with today's technology. I was thinking of Jarvis and Iron Man. Iron Man is in action, but Jarvis is always there for him. So
Mm.
he thinks, should I do this or that? How do I solve this conundrum? And then Jarvis says, give me a second, and then comes up with an idea. I wanted to be that. And on our phone, we can be that. As a coach, we can be Jarvis to entrepreneurs. And so that I will be here on your phone. You can reach me directly on my phone. So we build our own app and I was directly on their phone. And they have their phone with them all the time. So I was now actually able to be part of their life while I was living my life. Because maybe I'm at the playground, I'm playing with the kids, but now I get pinged and I can help for 5 minutes. They say, I'm not sure, should I enter this country or that country first? Okay, let's go through that. It doesn't really take 8 hours in a Hilton to solve that. Sometimes it's just 5 minutes sparring and then it's
Right.
enough.
Yeah.
And so it actually worked out. I was worried and my friends were worried. Will it pan out? But it actually worked out.
Yeah, I could see that. You're the sounding board. You're the sounding board to everybody who needs that individual, who needs that Jarvis, because yes, and things are moving so quickly that sometimes we get flustered and we don't know the answer because we're so tight in our situation, we have no space. But then you call your sounding board, who is you, and you're not in that space, but you can see clearly. So you are able to take that information and process it on a different level than they are. And then, back and forth the sounding board. And then you go, okay, I see clearly now. That is absolutely, excuse me, so valuable in today's world.
the question feels so alive and so intense. Imagine you have just started using an AI like Claude, and then you realize, oh, you have to reorganize all your CRM or all your folders for this to work. Now you have suddenly a very big question, and you kind of panic. It feels very intense. So you want to discuss it right now. Hey, should I change all these things that we are, our core CRM? Should I really switch our core data? Now, right now, in the next 10 minutes, this is super intense, and you want to discuss this with a strategic partner. Because what are the consequences? You need to think scenarios, you need to think it through before you decide. On the other side, you don't want to wait 8 days until you have a workshop with that advisor, because it's very intense right now. I couldn't even sleep, right, if I don't have clarity about this.
Right.
And so it's very intense, but it's in the now. And so with this app now, our coaching became much more immediate, shorter, but it connects you in that moment when you need it. And the next 8 hours, you do something else. And that is one principle of flow. You go with the energy of the moment.
Yeah. Absolutely excellent and so on spot for today's world, Simon. That is wonderful. Well, thank you for that explanation, and it definitely sets you apart from many others, and also your background. Because you have that strategic background that helps with answering those very complicated, sometimes detailed questions. So, how does a leader then create the conditions for winning that you say creates flow, which boosts performance, productivity, and creativity?
Yeah. So the principles of flow were developed by a scientist called uh, Michael Csikszentmihalyi. I think it's Michael Csikszentmihalyi, an Hungarian name, hard to pronounce. And the book is still very current and very worth reading. And he found some principles. One is that of in the moment, not later. The other one is immediate feedback. So immediate feedback means, imagine you're playing Angry Birds and you shoot that bird, and then it says 500 points. Now you shoot the next bird, it says 700 points. What do you want to do next? Most people want to shoot the next bird because they are imagining, seeing, feeling already the 800 points. They have hope because it's right there. You can almost touch it. You can almost see the 800, and it's human nature. We're playful creatures. We want to shoot those 800. That's what we want to do. Now imagine you shoot that bird, and this is the corporate world, by the way, and it says, in 30 days, you will receive a bird point report to your email inbox. It's not the same game. Nobody's going to play that game. It's not alive. There is no feedback loop. So let's bring that to the listeners. There are so many activities where you're doing it and you don't have a feedback. Like you're writing a book, you're writing 600 words. You don't know if they land, if they're good, if anybody needs them. Because nobody's waiting for your 600 words when you're writing a book. And so you have 6 months of no feedback. Some jobs are designed like that. You do something and you don't know if it's the right thing, if it reached the right person, if it's done the right way. So if you don't have that, how do you know if it's completed? Right. And that's why one core principle of the strategy sprints method has become to make work really small and to gather quick feedback from the outside, from the person who this is meant to serve. So maybe you are doing the books, you are reconciling the books, right? In the end, that number needs to be reconciled. But you can do the whole thing. So maybe you do a part, and so we break it down from Monday to Friday. Monday, strategy. Of all the books that I have to reconcile, which one is a part that's most relevant and small enough that I can finish it until Friday, show it to you, and you give me feedback. Instead of doing all the reconciliation, I will now pick maybe only one product in one country, just the expenses and the revenues and the profits of that product. I will finish it until Friday, show it to you, you tell me if it's correct. And that can be a fractal of the whole accounting system. So if I did that correct, I probably now can move on to the other parts. But at least I got feedback. Yes, it is right. Or maybe you say, no, it's wrong. You are using the GAAP system. We are on a non-GAAP standard. Oh, then I'm glad I know it now after 6 days and not after 6 months. That's bad project management when you have these surprises after 6 months. And so we went the agile way. Let's make work small. Monday, strategy. What's the most important? What's the 80-20? What's the really relevant part that if we solve that, the rest kind of follows? And then on Friday, there is the sprint dashboard, and we actually measure things. So everybody has one swim lane from Monday to Friday. And on Friday, everybody reports and everybody looks at that dashboard. So the sales people show the sales numbers, marketing people show the marketing metrics, number of subscribers, number of new registrants to our webinar, to our event, number of signups to our free trial. And the ops people, how many clients are happy right now? How many have a pull request because they're pissed about something? So that's a sprint dashboard. And it happens every Friday. We don't wait for the end of the month or the quarter to do strategy. It happens all the time a little bit. It's happened every Monday when we focus and we pick our fight, and every Friday when we measure and learn.
That makes all the sense in the world. You know what it is, Simon? It's simple. Corporations don't like simple, and it's taking it in small chunks, which, yes, hello, my gosh, it's common sense. But how wonderful is that? That you have thought through this and said, hey, this is much easier to take it in small chunks. And like you said, then it creates more flow because people aren't, like you said, waiting for the end of the month or the end of 6 months to get that email or that review. And then you start all over again. And it's like mayhem and chaos because everybody's behind. But, and like you said at the beginning, you would come to your desk and you had this big project and you were excited about getting it done, but it was a massive project. And you probably had the same experience where you would go through a lot of the things, but without getting feedback on a regular basis along the way. And, then who knows what? You have to go back to the drawing board, or you have to start back in the middle, et cetera, which it just, stalls the whole thing. Well, thank you for that insight. So what is the biggest lie then, Simon, that founders believe about growth, and how does it quietly burn them out?
This is how I was lying to myself. My friends, back to my years in the global consultancy, my friends were saying, oh, when do you stop doing that? Come on, we miss you. You started a weekly soccer group, and now you are not here. You started this thing. We are all here. You are not here. We miss you. So when do you stop this job, right? And I was like, oh, no, I have this cool client right now. Let me just do this client. And then 3 months later, I was saying, no, but it's just this project. Let me finish just this project. And so I was lying to myself from project to project. And fortunately, my friends were becoming more and more intense in asking me, so that I couldn't BS myself totally out of this. And probably listeners have also this experience. There is this one thing that's actually, it's so cool, right? It's prestigious. And I always had big names and big logos to back that up, right? I'm merging Airbus and EADS. Hello, this is important. I'm helping this big logo succeed in that market. Hello, it's important. It's in the newspaper, right? We can tell ourselves that, but the reality persists that, okay, I'm solving their problems 10 hours a day, but I have 0 minutes per day on solving our problems. And that is a lie to ourselves. That's specifically for service businesses. Product businesses don't have that problem. But if you are in a service business, like finance, consulting, agency work, then you're always solving your clients' problems. And so please take 1 hour or 2 hours per day and also work on your problems, on your business, not just in your business, but on your business. Call them strategy. Put them in your calendar. If your day is full, okay, do it 2 hours before your day starts. If you're a morning person, or 2 hours in the evening instead of Netflix, if you're an evening person. You will find 2 hours. But please do that. Otherwise, we're telling ourselves a lie that we're giving our best. Yeah, but in which direction? You have to take care of yourself too.
Right.
And you have to put that in the calendar. It's strategic time. So the way I started is, because I'm a morning person, I said, okay, 1 hour before everybody wakes up, it's me time and it's strategy time, and I'm thinking about strategically about what to do next in our business. The next 8 hours, 10 hours, I will solve my clients' problems. But I start with our own strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Just incredible insight. We don't spend time on our own life business, but we create what we create for others. So yes, that is so important and so vital to living a life, because often you get very many executives come to the end of their career and they have no life. It's like, that's when they just sort of realize, wow, I've missed everything. And then they, plan a trip, and then before you know it, it's all over. And it's like, this is why I did this for my entire life. But yes, thank you. It's individuals like you that we have to stop and pause and say, thank you for opening our eyes, because we're all here for a short time and our lives do matter. And it's not just about the accolades. It's not just about the paycheck. Yes, we need those, but it also has to count for something. And that's living a life fully. But thank you for that insight and the reminder as well. Well, how do you scale then revenue without scaling stress or hours worked?
That's my favorite topic. And it's the topic of the next book, Time Freedom, that I've just finished writing together with Jay Abraham, and will come out in April. So we have to separate the impact that we're having from our time involvement. Again, hard for service businesses, because if I'm a doctor, if I'm a consultant, if I'm a lawyer, my hour, that's the billable hour. And so I think that my time is the impact, but it's not. It's much more the process that we follow. So a lawyer has a process. A doctor has a process. A consultant has a process. A yoga teacher has a process. A Pilates teacher has a process. And you change Pilates teachers because you change the city, and Pilates still works also in that new city. Why? It wasn't the teacher, it was the process. And so everybody has a process, if you know it or not. And maybe it's just in your head, but you can get it out of your head. And when you get it out of your head and you write it down and you share it, now it's a standard operating procedure. Now it's an actual process that other people can run with. And this is how you scale without adding stress. Practical example. When strategy sprints started, it was just me with billable hours. But then I started writing down, okay, this spreadsheet worked in 3 industries in four times. Let me save that spreadsheet. This might be the blueprint for how we solve the pricing problem. And then I solved a go-to-market problem. How do we enter a new market? And then I had a framework there. Oh, this framework worked 12 times now in 5 different industries. Let me save that framework and give it a name that's meaningful so that you understand what it can do for you. By doing that, we saved 274 frameworks. Now that became the Sprint University. So we put it on a content management system, right? Again, on our app. And then it was now the Sprint University. So I was giving a client 1 hour of my time, but then they were telling me the problem. And I said, no, go to the Sprint University and do module 17. So the second hour, my knowledge was creating impact now. And then from there, that became a book, the Strategy Sprints book. Came out with Kogan Page. They sold the rights to 3 more languages. So that scaled into 3 more countries where I have never been. I have never been to Japan and Russia, but the book is there in their language. I've never been to China. I've been just through 1 city in China. China is much more than 1 city, but the book is in China now. So that's the next scaling. So you see how impact can scale without stress scaling, because I wrote the book once, but it's creating ripple effects. And then from the book, a program. The program became licensing. Those licensing royalties, the book royalties, those are all examples of scaling impact without scaling stress.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. I see it. It seems so it's creative, but it's really just, again, common sense. I mean, perfect. Yes. And then your modules, again, using those as a way to scale. Like you said, you have an hour with your client, but then they say, this is the issue. We go to module 11 and find the answer there. And so on and so on. So you just keep building. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that insight. Well, here's a hidden client trap. What are the early signs that a great client is in a trap?
So you can be in a golden cage. And we have examples in the new book, in Time Freedom. We have examples of somebody who wakes up at 4 a.m. thinking about the project and really being in that project. If you don't, and it can go really, really bad too. There is one chapter where Natasha says, it killed my husband that we didn't select our clients. We just took everybody who wanted to work with us instead of defining who don't we work with. So what we did was a process of defining your ideal client 5 levels deep. What makes your ideal client? And if you're listening to this, I would pause here and actually write it down. What makes your ideal client 5 levels deep? So 5 things that make you see that's an ideal client. And then you turn the page, and on the other side, the 5 anti-ideal criteria. If one of those things pop up, that's actually your anti-ideal client. You shouldn't work with them. You should say a polite no or refer them to somebody else. So Natasha didn't do that. And she had this amazing institution that was teaching change management, and she took on too many organizations that wouldn't fit her ideal client. And so those organizations took so much time and energy, and in the end, the life force of her husband. So it's a good idea to define who you are not here to serve and who you are here to serve, and both 5 levels deep.
Absolutely. That really hits home, because I was in the service industry, as I mentioned earlier, in the financial industry. And I had clients that we would say we would fire back in those days. But yes, they consume all your energy. I've been there. They just, I call them energy vampires. They just
Yes.
deplete you, and they're usually not your biggest clients. They're usually the smaller ones. That's really so I agree 100%. What a great process to do, and it's not just layering what your ideal client is, but I love the fact that you say on the other side, put the 5 items that are the anti-client, because if those pop up, then that's a signal and a reminder to you that,
Hmm.
okay, I have to stop and look at this. I need to, reassess this particular individual. But and thank you for that example, that real life example, because yes, they can bring you down, and they will try if you don't start to understand that, okay, something's not working here. Well, how can founders then stay authentic when the market pressures them to perform or to pretend? And boy, have I been there. And I'm sure many have as well.
We all have this, we hear somewhere on YouTube or from advisors, this is how you should do. And then you try and press yourself into that activity, right? I have to run ads. And then now that's why we run Facebook ads. What if we do it the other way around? We say the world doesn't need more cookie cutted products. What does the world actually need right now? If you look around yourself, you look to your neighbors, to your community, to your church, to the schools around you, what do people actually need? They need to be seen, to be understood, to feel worthy, to be connected. And they're longing for peace, for being home, being at peace. And that's what they're longing for. So what if we forget everything that we learned in business and just start back from first principles? Now, in that case, the first question is, okay, who am I here to serve? What's my mission here? And which resources do I have? What's my knowledge, my passion, my superpower that I can bring to the table? Um, and after that, I get asked on what's the best marketing content that I should do, and should it be paid or organic? And I say the best marketing, first of all, don't pay for marketing. That introduces just a ton of stress and risks. Don't do that. You usually don't need to. If the product is good, if the service is good, we can scale it organically. And the best marketing is answering questions that you get during the week in comments, in emails, in live interactions, and sharing, building in public, sharing what you are doing in an open way. For example, I live in Vienna. In Vienna, there is an old cafe with a bakery. And instead of the wall, they have a glass wall. So you can see them baking cakes.
Mm.
Now, that is a totally different experience when you see them baking the cake, and you already look forward to that cake, and you see that the love that went into baking it is totally different experience. I would pay more for that cake. It's just more enjoyable. And also for them doing it, back to the feedback loop, they're not just baking and maybe a month later experiencing who this is for. They see you already. They say, oh, this is for you. I'm making this cake for you. Are you excited? And then, they get excited because they see, oh, it is for somebody. So it's easier to put love and care into something when you see who this is for and that they are excited. It's this simple thing of making that wall a transparent glass wall. And we can do that instead of working in hidden, we work in public. So, for example, if I'm rebranding, I don't just do 2 months with an agency thinking about my brand. Every day I will ask something on social media. I say, we're thinking about, should we go yellow or orange? And then I will literally post it, A or B. What do you say, guys? Help me decide. And it's not really about them deciding our brand colors, obviously, but it's involving them into the journey
Mhm.
and doing it with them and also a little bit for them, right?
Mhm.
It changes. And you see what happened now? I don't have to invent anything. I don't have to make a great color choice. Most colors are chosen anyways. So it's not about making that perfect choice that creates a ton of stress. No, it's just, hey, we are exploring how our brand actually needs to look like. Do this with me.
Mm.
That's marketing. That can be the post of the day, the email of the day. This is what we're learning about rebranding. This is what we're learning about ourselves, about bad decisions, about good decisions. That's a great post.
Yeah.
So, and that's authenticity.
Yes, absolutely. It's resonance. It's
Yeah.
there's a saying, resonance. It's who I am is what I will attract. And so by creating that connection, you're creating it's drawing them to you as opposed to pushing to try and get people to come and see you. But this is actually drawing them to you. So it's resonance marketing. It's absolutely
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah. When you
Yes.
understand that, yeah, and I know we're on the same wavelength because I can feel that you'll get that. But that's exactly what you're doing, and how brilliant that, yes, get your people involved, your audience, and just let them know that, like you said, you're listening, you matter. Let's communicate. And that's what you're doing. You're opening the channels of communication, and that is much more
Yes.
powerful than any marketing. That's just,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it.
I think resonance is the exact right word. I have literally a resonance folder. Whatever touches me, I'm reading something and I'm deeply touched by it, but I don't have the time to really read it now. I put it in a folder and it's called resonance folder. And from time to
Mm,
time, I go back there and try to find out, why do I resonate with that thing? In that moment, I don't know. I'm just touched by it. But I will, over time, learn something about myself. And that's
mm,
a good job of every CEO, of every marketer, to learn about yourself. And the second thing is, the stress is gone. We don't have to come up with anything new, with anything great. We are just documenting the process of becoming, of being, actually, right? Of being on the road, because every business
mhm.
is an adventure. We call it a venture and venture
Right.
capital in the beginning, right? It's an adventure, and so we're just documenting that adventure.
Mm, yes. You have to write that book, Simon. That's a whole
Resonance
that's the
marketing should be the next book.
yes. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, and so many people I know, so many entrepreneurs hate the aspect of the marketing, hate going on there and saying, join my free seminar for 3 days. And then they pitch while they're in the thing, and everybody hates it because that's why they're setting it up.
Everybody hates it.
And it's a loop, and there's so much of it these days. Or they're putting out, click this and you get 3 downloads for free, and then join this, and it's so mechanical and it's so impersonal. But this, what you're saying, it makes it fun, it makes it engaging for both parties, for the individual who owns the business, but also for the people that are out there who want to connect because they start to learn more about you, and they start to think, wow, my opinion matters. Oh, I know what she's doing, I love what she's creating. Oh my gosh, fabulous, I love it. Yeah, I so wonderful idea. Well, thank you for that insight. And let me know when you get that book. I want you on so we can explore it. Definitely. Well, what changes when a founder stops chasing more leads and starts designing leverage?
The time available per week now is drastically different, because now you are not putting in those more hours, more of the same activity.
Mm,
Instead, you have an hour where you just go for a walk. Like, I have an hour per day where I just walk. And it's called strategic thinking. right, in my calendar so that nobody can book it. But I don't really know what's going to happen in that hour. But I know that every day around that hour, there is 2, 3 problems that I need to solve. Like my team needs a decision, a client needs a decision, a partner, a vendor needs a decision. And if I'm not ready to take that decision, I go for a walk with that question. And so I put it in one question. For example, um, what would I do to serve the highest good for everybody in this decision? So, and then I go for a walk. I don't have an answer, but usually during that walk, there is clarity that emerges. And when I come back, I'm usually ready to decide. So it's a good invested time, actually 60 minutes for a big decision, because you have time to think it from all perspectives. And then when you come back, you have clarity. It doesn't look like work, right? But it is actually work. When you're the CEO, when you're the founder, when you're the business owner, your job is thinking mainly because you have to decide. And for good decisions, you need time to think, to read, to write, to clarify your thinking. And that's done, for example, with a walk. So the first change of your day is your day is not that busy anymore. It's more like Warren Buffett. You come from the finance background, right? The day of Warren Buffett, the most successful investor ever, he had never a busy day. His day was reading, sitting in a room, eating like a 6 years old, and then reading even more. And the reason is he didn't put much emphasis on deciding what to eat. He was just eating the same thing, wearing the same thing, not refurnishing his home, because all these things weren't very important to him. The important thing were reading an income statement, reading a cash flow statement, reading a book. And that's what he did a lot.
Mm.
He
Yeah.
was creating time for what mattered to him. And his day was never rushed. He had no meetings, basically no meetings. Sometimes he would call Charlie Munger, that's it. But they didn't have meetings scheduled in their calendar, not at all. So it's a day full of calm, of peace. You can think things through. It might even look lazy from the outside. If you think of a current CEO with all their meetings and their flights, it looks like a lazy day, but it's not lazy. Look at the results, the compounded results, the billions that compounded with a very calm, peaceful day.
Yeah. Space creates the ability to think, basically. I mean, maybe now corporations should just have a walking hour where everybody goes out for a walk. It's mandatory. We don't care if you're just dreaming and looking at the trees. That's good too. You know, nature is healthy for us all. But yes, absolutely. You need space. Everybody needs space. And that's, I think, the pandemic, I think that's the one thing that it did for many people. It created space, and lots of people reassess their lives or the lack of their lives, and many left their jobs, but that's a whole nother story. But yes, I can see where that makes a big difference. And thank you, that does create the leverage, because the more you enjoy what you're doing and create the space to process, or even just be creative and imaginative, that's thinking too. We just don't value those, but they are very valuable, because without creativity, without imagination, we'd have nothing. We wouldn't even have cars, nothing. The wheel, those all came from creativity. So yes, I agree with you 100%. So Simon, what's one decision that you see founders delay that costs them years of progress?
I was asked one question by a member of my weekly mastermind. We have a weekly mastermind called the 200K Club. And one member there, Neil, asked me a question and said, Simon, if there was one place where all your content resides and I can ask you questions, where would that place be? because he saw me on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on all different places, right? In emails. And that question stuck with me. I think for 4 days, I was thinking about this question. I canceled some meetings because it didn't feel right to do anything else before I have an answer to this. So if you're listening to this, if there was one place where all your knowledge is available and accessible and people can ask you questions, where is that place? Most are scattered across multiple places. But now you're creating confusion for the other side, because where can I ask? And if we are slightly confused, the audience is extremely confused. So we have to be crystal clear. This is where you ask me. This is where you find me. And so that question alone, 4 days of thinking about it, and then I had an answer, and I was so relieved when I had that answer. And everything did speed up afterwards, because now there was just one place. So when we would create a new content just there, when somebody wanted to ask me a question, they knew where to ask the question. So actually, this is a question that feels like it's slowing you down, because most of us don't have one place right now as an answer. And so maybe it slows you down for 4 days like it did me. But this is a good slowing down, a slowing down that will speed you up when you pick that place.
Yes. Yeah, that's 100%. Well, how then, Simon, do you know when your business no longer fits who you've become? I love this question.
Other people see it before we see it. I'm usually the last to see it when it's my own situation. And I will try to avoid it at all costs. Now, this is where it's important that you know yourself, because you have to start observe your little avoidance mechanisms. Mine is doing even more sports, more workouts. And that's now that I know myself, I know, I'm stressed, because that's my reaction to stress. Uh, to and whatever your reaction to stress is, notice that. Allow yourself to notice that. How do you feel? How are you sleeping? How do you feel when you wake up? How do you feel at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning? This is the time where we feel ourselves most. Before the world wakes up, right? And we just woke up. How do you feel? There is a lot of information in those hours between, let's say, 4:30 and 7. And I'm usually the last one to get it, but there are symptoms outside. There is vendors that are irritated. There is clients that don't renew or even stop working. And I don't know why. I can see the reason. Maybe I even irritated as oh, these guys, they're the wrong client. But something is going on inside of ourselves, inside of our team, and we don't know it yet, but we have outgrown a situation.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's not crystal clear, but you will get multiple signs that something's not right. And instead of pushing through and becoming hard and fight, try the other way. Sit down with it, try to look at it and accept it and say, okay, what's going on? What do I need to accept?
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
usually the step that changes everything. Because now, when you ask yourself, what do I need to accept that I don't want to accept? That's the first step into the change.
That's the question right there, the way you put it. What do I need to accept that I don't want to accept? Perfect. Because you just have to face yourself and just understand that, okay, it's going to be fine. But you're right, because it's the fact that you don't want to accept it. But asking yourself that gives you that opportunity to pause and become aware. The awareness is top. We walk around so unaware, but that is a fabulous question. Thank you. That was gold
And
right there at the end.
and
Yeah,
we're
go
looking at
ahead.
our darkness, right? Who wants to look at their darkness?
Yeah.
Nobody. It's terrible. But that's
Yeah,
that's the work in that moment.
you're right. But within the dark, there is light. That's the key, is that there's more light there. But yes, absolutely. Because then you just become the working robot, and you go along with the majority of, unfortunately, unconscious individuals. But that's shifting thanks to many individuals like you. So thank you for that. So what does sustainable success look like after you've already made it?
And back to the question before, maybe that's why the morning hours are so important to look at these things,
Mm.
because it's literally in the dark. But subconsciously, we know the sun will come up again. So it's 6 a.m. I have this dark feeling, dark thought. I'm going to my darkness, but something in me knows latest 8 a.m. the sun will come up again. So there is hope.
Mm. That's a
And I think that's
beautiful
that's the
metaphor.
difference.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. We all suffer at some point. When you run a business, you have a ton of suffering every day, the chance to suffer 3 times. The only difference is, do we have hope or not? When we don't have hope, we want the suffering to be over. We want to avoid it. But if we have hope, we can stay in there, look at it. What can we learn? What can we improve in terms of our products, services, the way we do things, the way we communicate?
Yeah.
And that's maybe a long-winded answer to your question, which is, how do we keep being successful and actually stabilize that success? Because there is no stabilization in business. Whenever you reach a new level of success, all your past processes break.
Hmm.
So you
Yep.
begin your business from 0 to 35K per month. You build up some processes. You reach 35K per month. Everything breaks. And you have to sit down, go back to the whiteboard, create the new processes. Then you get to 100K per month. Again, everything breaks. Then you get to 500K per month. You can't do the same activities at 500K per month that you did 100K per month. And so every time, and then you will have the 1 million breakthrough, the 5 million breakthrough. And every time, your processes will become obsolete.
Yes. Hmm.
So at each stage, you are never stable, and you have reached a stable position and you can relax. It will always be dynamic. And that's why we like to have this cadence: Monday, Friday, Monday, Friday. That stays the same. At each revenue level, you have the same cadence, it's like a rowing team, 8 people in a
Hmm.
rowing boat. You have this cadence.
Yeah.
That's the only stable function. It's your cadence during the week, because the week will always be the same. At 1 million, at 10 billion, the week will always be Monday and Friday. And so that's the stabilizing function. Monday, strategy, what's the most important thing in front of us? And Friday, learning from the week. What did work? What didn't? Let's do more of what works.
Mm. Yeah. Spot on. Well, what three top takeaways, Simon, do you hope people get from reading your book, The Strategy Sprints Method?
Well, the first is, you don't have to accomplish anything great. You are already on an adventure. The best marketing you can do is just to document that adventure in public. This is what I'm learning.
Mm.
This is where I'm stuck. This is what I find out this week. And I want to share with you guys. That's the best marketing. So, first one, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to outsmart anybody. Just be you and document in public. Share that journey. The second one is, it's hard. Running a business is hard. You will feel overwhelmed all the time or very frequently. And there are these very euphoric phases, but there are a ton of dark nights and dark mornings. Know that the sun always rises again, and make it actually your friend. Make it a cadence of starting the week with strategic intent and ending the week with a learning ritual. In the Strategy Sprints book, you get the exact agenda, how to structure that meeting, who should be in the meeting, how to decide, how to prepare the meeting. And the book is full of helpful checklists to do that. It sounds so simple when we say it here. Of course, it's not that simple when you try to implement it in your real business. But the book is that helpful cookbook full of recipes that you actually can cook at home and with your team. That's the Strategy Sprints book. So I would say those are some takeaways.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that information. And everyone should go out and purchase this incredible book. Would like to know if you had one message to business leaders, what would it be?
Probably there is nothing to do. We think, oh my God, I have to do so many things, right? My to-do list is so long. I don't think so. I think there's actually nothing to do. And what do I mean when I say that? We can come from being and be 10 times more productive than if we come from doing. So if I approach the day, I think we are very productive, but I don't feel stressed that I have to do something. I wake up in the morning, I look at our strategy, I know what's in front of us. I get 100 emails and 3 of them are urgent. Do I really have to do something, or can I just be myself? Because when we are entrepreneurs, our nature is we're problem solvers. So that's why people bring us their biggest problems, because we know how to handle them. So even if I do nothing, how will my day be? People will still bring me their biggest problems. And what is my nature? If I do nothing, what do I actually do? I will still solve these problems. That's what I am. So I would say there is nothing to do. Just relax and be yourself, because what's meant to be will happen anyways. You are on this journey, on this adventure, and one step after the other, Monday, Friday.
Right. Yes. Well, that's very wise. That's a very wise message, Simon. Let's hope that some will take it and live with that. So, give our audience an idea where they can best connect with you and purchase your book. And all of this will be available on our pages as well.
Yes, we hang out at strategysprints.com, same as the book, Strategy Sprints. And many of these tools that we mentioned, they are available open source for everybody to use, because they get better and better the more people use them. And they're built for people to use. So at strategysprints.com, you can download, I think, 15 of the tools that we use every week. And you can have fun with them and solve some problems and have some impact. So yeah, can download them at strategysprints.com.
Wonderful. And your book is available on Amazon and all other bookstores, or yep.
Yes,
Okay.
it's available everywhere. It's called Strategy Sprints. And by the time this airs, there might be the next book also available, which is Time Freedom.
Wonderful. Well, hopefully we can get you here for that, because that sounds like something we all need to know as well. So I have one last question for you, Simon, because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
idiot trying to find out stuff. He's looking for the meaning of life. Every time he finds it, they change it.
Oh my God, that's a long title, but
It's a long title.
wow. Yeah, but okay. I'm sure people would pick that up just out of curiosity, and far from an idiot, I'm sure. You're more bright than those who think they are, because you have wisdom. So that counts for a lot. Well, thank you for that. So, and thank you for joining us here today as well, and reminding us that focused execution leads to agile growth. And once again, for all of the information and to connect with Simon, go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages, where you will find all of his social media and direct contact information. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath, and look me up at janeapplegath.com. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Epic Vision Zone. Sending you much love and gratitude. Until next time, stay visionary, lead with love, and stay epic.